Alright everybody, how's it going? I'm Parry, and today I wanted to show you guys how to use the vintage graphic EQ that's in Logic Pro. With this EQ, you can find it stock in Logic Pro under the EQ section, Vintage EQ Collection, and it's one of the 3 vintage stock EQs they have here. And right now I'm covering the vintage graphic EQ. If you want to learn more about the console EQ, I have a previous video on my channel for that, and I'll do the vintage tube EQ as my next video, probably next week, on the vintage EQs. But regardless, today we're doing the vintage graphic EQ, and I'll kind of explain what's going on here and show you how we might use it. So, explaining the EQ real quick. This is obviously vintage. It's basically an analog emulation, and it's emulating the API 560. That's what it's emulating. It's a 10 EQ band EQ, so you see 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It basically allows you to either boost certain frequencies by 12 dB or cut certain frequencies by 12 dB, as you can see. And this EQ emulates proportional Q of original device. So I was looking over the Logic Pro manual about this EQ, and I found an excerpt from that I wanted to read real quick. So one of the paragraphs, it says frequencies aren't fixed at the default values, and you can proportionally scale all bands to provide more focus on a portion of the overall frequency spectrum. This flexibility makes it great for precise signal shaping and also a useful tool for such as tuning difficult rooms. So I thought that was a decent excerpt that I wanted to read real quick because I thought it was well worded. Also, with this EQ, what might you want to use it for? It's good for giving punchy, aggressive sounds to things like drums, electric guitar, and vocals. Are a few things that this is really good for, but you could probably use this on a lot of different things if you wanted to. But let's go over the functions of this EQ. So as over here, this button right here is the in-out button. This basically turns the EQ on and off. We'll just start going left to right. Right here you have the tune, and basically what this does is this allows you to change the frequencies at which you would be editing. So right now these are the default values at zeros, but let's see if you turn it up. As you can see, the values of the 10 bands changes, and you can go all the way up to 32K, which is useful for giving maybe some air on a vocals or something like that. So it goes all the way up to 32K. Let's go back to 0. And let's start going downwards. You can go downwards minus 12 too for the tuning. Then you can see it brings this band down to 8, brings this down to 16. So if you want to change the frequencies at which you're editing, that's how you do it right here with the tune. Over here you got the 10 EQ bands. If you want to boost it, you bring it up. You want to cut it, bring it down. Pretty simple. And then when you drag it, it also tells you specifically right here how much you're adding or cutting. And then you got the 10 bands right here. And then if we go all the way over to the right in the output section, we got the drive. At default, it'll have 5 drive on the output. This basically gives it more saturation and color and gives it more of a analog vibe the higher you push it up. But for the output model, this basically, so right now it's automatically set to punchy, as you can see here, because this is the default setting for the graphic EQ. You also have silky and smooth. So this output model, these are basically just EQ preamp models from what the research that I've done. Phase here, had natural phase and linear phase. By the way, this output section, I'm pretty sure it is the same. It's the same output section as the vintage console EQ, so it has basically the same thing. It's pretty similar. As for the other one, I want to check the tube EQ. I'm not sure if it has it or not. Oh, it does have it. Yeah, so basically the output section is very similar on all 3 of these. So I touched on this in the last video, but the natural, these 2 options. For the natural, what it basically means, it's another name for analog phase EQ. This, again, tries to replicate the analog hardware, And this type of phase introduces a bit of latency, but the delay is usually small compared to the delay introduced by linear EQ. Linear EQ usually has a larger delay, but the positives about linear EQ is that it usually tries to avoid phase distortion, and this setting is better if you're using it on like a master track. You're trying to master a track. You probably want to use linear EQ, and this is also good for reducing smearing and painting, sonic transparency, and mastering situations. So if you're doing mastering, you might want to use linear. Anything else, you'd probably want to use natural. Then right here, you got volume. Next, I have a drum sample here. Actually, I'm going to turn this off real quick. And I'll let you guys hear this dry as is. Now we're going to start messing around with this EQ and seeing how it sounds. So I think I'm just going to start dragging around the sliders, the 10 different sliders, so y'all can hear what impacts the sliders have on the sound. So let's just start doing that. Alright, I'm done playing around with the sound for now. One of the things I like about analog style EQs is that it really forces you to use your ears and listen to what you're actually doing. And because you have limited options with these analog EQs, it just makes it simpler and harder to screw up. Whereas if you're using more of a regular EQ like this, obviously there's a lot more options. You gotta really know where things are to cut them out or add them, and it can be a little more confusing. So that's one of the nice things I like about analog EQs, where it's hard to screw things up. And at the end of the day, if something sounds good, that's all that matters, right? I was just screwing with the sounds so y'all can hear the differences of what it sounds like when you add some dB, take away some dB. Now I'm gonna actually EQ these drums to sound decent. So let's do that real quick, or at least different. Alright, cool. Something like that works. All in all, it's a pretty simple EQ, and it's not very hard to learn. You just gotta kind of get into it and start messing with it. Start putting it on sounds and see how the bands can change the sounds. Pretty simple EQ. Not a lot to explain here. I like it. If y'all learn anything, let me know. If I missed anything, let me know. Give it a like, subscribe, comment, do all the good stuff. That's all I got for today. Anyways, until next time, see you guys.